So guys, let's talk about local and remote grades. And for this specific tutorial, we want to go into the project manager and open our Ikari project. We didn't open that yet, so you should have your media offline. You can just go on the edit or just on media, whatever you want. You have your media pool or your media storage, and you can just go into the footage folder, right click and press rolling clips for selected bin. You can go into the color grading masterclass folder, in the folder 1 Ikari, and press OK. By doing this, returning to the edit, you will see all your timeline placed in that way, and that's our starting point. So as you can see, we have our timeline, and I made a little, split of one of our clip, that is that one. I placed one part of the clip there and another part of this clip there, just because I want to talk you about the difference between local grades and remote grades. So this timeline is made by different clips, as you can see from there. And we want to start talking about local grades. And local grades are basically grades that focus just on the clip as it is on the timeline. Talking about that, we'll talk about the clip from one cut to another. And when we are talking about remote grades, we talk about not just the clip in this portion, but the clip talking about the media itself. So about the original clip, wherever it is on our timeline. So we have this clip here, and making a remote grade here will taking effect to all the other parts of this original media, whatever it is on the timeline. So if I make a remote grade on this clip there, it will affect at the same time this clip there, because it's the same media, it's from the same source. But by doing a local grade there, will affect just this part of clip on this part of the timeline. Local grade are cool if you want to create more versions of one grade, of one portion of your timeline, and maybe you want to share it to your producer and pick the one that you like the most. Remote grades are good for the same reason, but if you need to don't change that original clip on the whole timeline and having that grade fixed up whatever it is, you can make a remote grade on a clip and migrate it on another timeline, and it will remain on that clip, and the local version will remain just on that specific clip. So let's jump into it on the color section. So on the color section, I want to open my clips right there. And being on that clip, I want to do my first grade. You have to know by right clicking on that normally we are always working by standard into local version, or better, local grade. I'm gonna call that local version or local grades. These are the exact same thing. As you can see there, we have local versions, and it's set to version 1 as as a standard. And then you have remote versions, and you should load the version 1 of the remote version. You can also choose to work by standard using local grades or remote grades. You can choose, by the way, depending on how you are cool on working. But by the way, let's start watching at this one. So let's say that I want to make few grades on my timeline on this specific clip, so remaining just on this part of the timeline, just with this part of this image here, and maybe I want to change that one. So I can do one little grade. So I'll do 1 or 2 fast, super easy grade. So I'll be doing like this. I'm gonna create another node, tweak a bit the contrast, and that will be my first grade. Then I can come here, and this grade will be saved on my version 1 that I'm gonna rename it like look 1. Then I can create another version, and I create another version calling like look2. I can also choose to copy all marks or just the first mark only, whatever. We're gonna copy all marks and then make adjustment on this, even adding another one. On this one we will change the hue, making some weird stuff, and I don't know, even cranking up the mid-tone details like this. Maybe we have a super strange producer that like this kind of thing, so let's make it version 2, and then we can open another version, creating another version like version 3 or look 3, whatever, look 3, and I'm gonna deactivate that and making some adjustment on reds, making some weird stuff here, and yeah, going down here, something like this with the temperature and the contrast. And by doing this, I created 3 local look. These are cool because if I want to, switch between them, I can just go into look 1, look 2, and just press load to load it. Or better, if you have created more version, you can just go there on our split screen and go on version as I was there, and you have all your version of this clip, of this portion of clip on this part of the timeline, and you can just choose whatever you like and you can change it, and you can do like infinite version of this. You can also save them as stills, each one of this. Obviously you can save this as power grade, but you will also have this as local version. So the fact is that if I move to another clip, let's say this one, I won't have these versions anymore. So it's important to understand that local versions are created just for a specific part of the timeline where we are working on. So if I'm working on the same clip with our remote version, I want to switch and go into remote version 1. I will load it, and by default it's obviously a flat layer as every starting layer. And another thing that you might notice is that right there I won't see anymore the fact that this is a graded clip, because as I move to my local version, it's saying that it's graded and we have multiple layered versions of this. And by going into the version 1, I can rename it and call it our remote 1. On my remote 1, I can load it and make my grade, and keep an eye there and another eye there, and look at this. We are changing both clips. Right now I think I'm not using it. I have to use remote grades, and by using remote grades, this will appear there and we will be linking the media. So whatever it is on the timeline, we will be linking all this part of this specific media together. So at every adjustment, every cut from the same source will change. So by the way, right now, as you're seeing, we are making them changing. We can also create as the local version other remote version. We can delete that, and it's a great thing maybe if you are working on a music video, if you are working on a conference, and maybe you are editing also a documentary with the same person speaking. At the same time, when using remote version, you can always switch to your local version, so you can keeping the same remote version work above all the clips, and decide just to work with some of this locally, because maybe on few parts of that specific media, of that specific clip, something is changing. And yeah, these two are really great if you are working on a documentary, or if you want just to create different versions. And the basic thing that both work in the same way. So the main reason of using local or remote version is to create different version and then choose between them. And obviously also to fast up your color grading if you are on a specific timeline or a specific project that does lots of clips that are the same or from the same media. And yeah, I personally suggest to use the remote version when you are working maybe on a documentary or when you need to fast grade a timeline with lots of similar clips. But by the way, I can even switch and go there and try and decide to use local version there. Obviously I didn't make local version there, but I can load it up and make my custom ones even there, and this one will stay remote. And as said, if you want to copy this one, you can just generate still, or you can just copy local grades to remote or copy remote grades to local. It's totally usable. You can make that, and that's it. That's my suggestion. My main suggestion is to stick with the local version if you're working on a short film that need specific grades on each clip, but at the same time be conscious that you can quick jump between the remote and the local for any of your needs on any of your projects.